Hey there, it's Sandy, and I'm back at my Babylock Solaris machine, continuing my journey to work on this colorful quilt, doing the machine-guided edge-to-edge stitching. And I am on frame number 25 out of 30. So I thought I have other videos out there. I started this journey with video 1, which is like the setup and preparation. And I'll try to put a link to that around here somewhere in case you didn't know about that video. And then I have a second video where I stitched out frames 1 through 4, and that was the top row left hand side. And then a third video, which is the last 2 frames in the upper low row, because I wanted to show viewers how in that very last frame on the right side, how to elongate it or shorten it if I needed to when I got to that far right corner. The next video was how I lined up the next row down. It was actually 2 rows down, but it's the same process. Same process 2 and 3, rows 2 and 3. Row 3, I just was showing how I matched up the next row and connected those frames in the 3rd row. And now this one is the final video of this series, where I am now in the bottom left hand corner. So the process might change a little bit because I have I will need to either lengthen or shorten it depending on what the machine shows me when I get to checking out that part of the design and if it needs to be changed. So I not only am matching up the row, the previous row with this one at the top here in the 2 marks, and also be making sure that it's long enough, or if it's too long, that I shorten it. So that's what I thought I would do tonight, is just this first frame and maybe one more to connect the 2 together so you can see it twice, and then we'll go from there. So let's get started. I'm starting at the beginning again because I just want to make sure that viewers understand that if you end up shutting off your machine and you have to go back and you want to follow the machine guided process, that there is a way to do it. And I've got this in my head now. I've actually gone back and forth when I don't like how things are lined up after I get there, to get to like a restart point. And you probably don't know what I mean, but maybe I'll show you when I stitch out the second hoop. For now, I'm just going to show you how to get it started, pretending like we shut down our machine. I'm going to press embroidery and the pocket. This is the frame we've been using, of the key where it shows 30 hoops. And again, in this screen, it's the 30 hoop key. These other ones are not the machine guided process. This one is. So I press set. Now, when I do that, it's taking me to the machine guided process, but it thinks we're at frame 1 at the very top left-hand corner. As you can see, we want to get past this screen because we want to get to frame 25. So I'm going to press OK for 5 screens, allow this carriage to move back and forth as it moves through the screens. And then when I get to that final screen where I can see the plus minus, I'll show you how to change the frame. Press OK. Again, OK. That's 2. The frame moves. Press OK the 3rd time. Frame moves again. Press it again a 4th time. And the final time, press OK. Now we're getting to this button, this plus minus button. And I'll zoom in now. So this plus minus button shows the segment. The segment is really the frame or the hoop number. And we want to get to number 25. So I'm just gonna, I thought maybe I could hold my finger down and it would advance, but it doesn't. So I have to press it every time. And I need to get to 25. All right, then you want to watch like a couple seconds after you get there to make sure it actually didn't, sometimes if you press it too many times, it will actually advance it, but it may not advance it fast enough for you to see. So you just want to wait a couple seconds to make sure it stays at 25. That's what I've been doing. So I'll press OK. I'm going to shrink the screen a little more. Okay, now it's telling us that the row was finished. To start the next row, rehoop the fabric to the left. That's what I've done over in the left-hand corner. And so I'll press OK. I've made sure when I rehooped that I've done this rehooping enough times that I know that I should be about, 1.25 inches in from the side and about 1.25 inches in from the top. And this machine is just telling me to make sure that when I move the fabric down and over to the left, that I'm taking into consideration those 2 marks at the top. So I'll press OK. Now it's just reminding me that I should use those pattern keys to align the upper left corner of the pattern. So that's what I'll say, OK. And the hoop moves. So now what I'll do is I'll make sure that I'm looking at this mark. Let's see if I can move you in. See if I can get you over there a little more. Where's my pointer? You can't see it, but the mark is behind the foot about 1 inch. So I am pretty close to where I guesstimated it would be. So I'm going to move that mark up. I'm sorry, the crosshair, the plus sign, I'm going to move that up. And then I'm right over the mark right now. So that should be good. When I do that, what I like to do personally is I like to hit the, navigate the hoop to move to the middle position on the left side. And it looks like it's okay, and then down the side. So I can kind of tell already that it's angling, but we can fix the angle in the next section. But right now it's still at the marks, so I've gone ahead and I'm going to go ahead and press OK. Now it's telling me to use the rotate keys and the size key to adjust the angle and the size of the pattern. So I'll say OK. And now I can see that the angle is down, which we saw in the lower left corner when I moved you over there. So I'm going to go ahead and push that angle up 2 times. And I'm going to also move, I'm using these keys on the right side to actually push the pattern out, make it a little larger because it was just short of that mark. And that looks good to me. So now I'm going to use those navigation buttons keys to actually double check that I'm still in the cross, which I am. And I'm going to check down this side to see if by using the rotate key, if I am better aligned. And I'm definitely better than I was. But notice how far we are from the bottom. So we definitely want to, I think I'm going to move myself to the middle so I can show better, but we definitely want to elongate this. So I'm going to press the button over here. See, these buttons will allow you to shorten or increase the width across the width. This is the lengthen, the shorten, and the lengthen for pushing that embroidery and lengthening the embroidery or shortening it on the bottom. So those are the buttons I'm going to use. Keys. So I'm going to go ahead and see how far it will allow me to increase the length. And eventually I will probably hear the knock knock because I will hit the bottom, but I think that this is probably good, maybe a little more, because I don't want to go over this part and get caught, have my foot get caught. So I think that looks good. I'm just going to run it across the bottom to make sure I like the way that looks as far as, you know, alignment at the bottom. I'll run it up again. Oh, it looks like it's kind of out of alignment here. Well, maybe not. Maybe a little bit, but it's not bad. I'm just using those buttons to make sure it's kind of a little bit loose here, so I'm going to tighten that a little bit. That looks good. So I'm going to press OK because I think that looks close enough. And it did actually, if you look over here, I probably should have taken a before picture, but it did elongate the design itself when I pushed the key to make the pattern longer. So it did, but you won't notice that on the quilt. So I'll back up a little bit and then we will start. This is only a 4-minute stitch out. I think I've been pretty happy with how this edge to edge went for me this time. This is really the second time that I've done edge to edge on a quilt, on a full quilt. The previous one that I did that's in my excuse me, in my YouTube channel in the playlist for edge to edge. That was a smaller quilt. This one is got 30 rehoopings. That one, I don't remember. I think it was probably 20 or something like that. So it was quite a bit smaller. But this time, some of the things that I learned previously that when I was first doing the top part of this quilt, you know, I hadn't done it in so long. It did take me a little time to refresh my memory, but it still went pretty well. But this time, it's really sinking in, and I gotta share a few more things about lining up this rows when you're dropping the fabric down. Things that just kind of, the light bulb went on when I did it this time, as far as those 2 marks at the top. And I'll show you when I rehoop frame number 26. And my plan is to finish this tonight. I actually already did the row above tonight, and it went really well. I say it went really well, even recognizing the fact that when I did the 3rd frame of the row above, somehow I messed up and I didn't align one of the frames, that frame in particular, very well. So when I stitched the frame to the right of it, it was stitching over the frame above it. So I ended up ripping out what it did stitch out of that frame and realigning it. And when I realigned it, I had to kind of fudge it a little bit to make sure that it looked okay and the stitching wasn't going on top of the previous row stitching. That worked out well. And then I gradually continued to make adjustments across the top of the quilt, and everything worked out fine. So it is good. You know, that didn't happen to me the last time I did edge to edge on my first quilt. At this time it happened, and I was able to make adjustments to make it work. Oh, I hope that wasn't at a down angle the whole time. It wasn't when I first adjusted it. I also am using a little bit different stickers. which there's just little tips that I use, and I'll probably find something else besides these little stickers that I've been using, because these do cost money, but they were really good tools. It was a really good thing that I started doing as I continued to quilt this edge to edge and move the fabric across. Just helped me to eyeball, like keep my eyes on the marks as I move the fabric across. So I'll show you that in a minute. Sewing the very last, the ending stitch of the first frame, and I'll mark that with my little sticker that I'm going to show you, and then it will, okay, I guess it doesn't sew that second one. So I'm using these little stickers just to help my brain keep an eye on the marks that I need to keep my eye on. And actually, there's another mark at the top that I want. There's another mark that's directly above this one. So if you look back here, I put the sticker back there, and there's a sticker here. When I move the fabric across, I have to try and keep those stickers parallel and about 1.5 inches from the top and from the side. So I'll do that now. If I run out of bobbin thread, which is completely possible, I may have to end this video, but we'll see how far we get. So there's my marks. I'm trying to see, I'm able to keep my eye on the marks. When I actually moved my frame up, I made it go to the far end of the neck of the machine, so that when I move this, it didn't like cause this. So when I move the fabric across, it would move more smoothly instead of getting caught up in this embroidery frame. So I'm feeling for the edge of the frame on the left side and the top, and I'm about 1.5 inches from either side. So I'm going to go ahead and undo these bobby pins, what? Safety pins, and see how close I am when I put the frame down this time. So I can also kind of eyeball this part down here. You know, I know I had about 1 inch or so of that showing. Yeah, I'm trying to keep things parallel. Pulling the fabric taut, squeezing the frame to make sure at the top and the side the frame is lined up, so that if my needle goes up there, the foot goes up there, I'm not running it into the frame, and I don't cause problems. So it looks like it's a little out of whack there. I think I got to pull it up more. It's not a big deal. And then stretch it out there. Not stretch it, but move it. I might need to see how it's down here. It was angling down. It's hard for me to see on such a big hoop, you know, how it looks at the top, unless I go on my tippy toes. See how that looks. Here's that. I'm going to take off these stickers, stick them to the machine, make it a little bit tauter. Okay, let's see how that looks. That looks good to me. So I'm going to say, okay, I'm ready to go to the next frame. It tells me, you know, rehoop towards the right, which we just did. I'm actually pulling the fabric to the left, but I'm rehooping the blank fabric that hasn't been quilted yet to the right. And keeping your eye on the thread marks above, which is what we were doing. Now it's reminding me to move the pattern keys to align the start point with the end point. So it's telling me when I get to the next screen, this is the end point, to use those pattern keys to line up the start point with the end point. So press OK. And we're very close. So all I have to do is use these like a micro move keys to get it lined up. And I guess that's close. Now, what I like to do is, since I'm lining this up, I want to make sure that I'm still in alignment up here, which I am, because this, what I found was this ending mark, where did it go? Okay, it's right here because I moved the frame down. When I used the keys on the right to move the foot over this ending mark, when I do that, it does the same thing to the mark at the top. And so right now, I can see that I'm low. I was low at the top. But if I press that button to take me back to this starting point, it's okay. It's still right on. Because I was a little high on the mark down here. I actually thought it was a little high. So what I'm trying to say is, when you use the move keys, the directional keys, to get this lined up, you're also moving it. It's also moving it at the same time from that mark at the top. So it should remain, when you get to this mark lined up, it should also line up at the top, which it does. If I were to move the pattern keys way down, which I will just do that just to show you. If I move, say I move it way up. That's probably a better example. See, it's way above. Then I use my direction button. Now look, it's way above that mark. So whatever you do to line up this mark also happens to this mark. So make sure you get this mark lined up, and this one should line up as far as how high it is above or below in relation to this mark. That has made a big difference, if that makes sense. So I'm going to go back to this mark and get it lined up. It's way too high, so I'm going to go back down and a little bit over. And now I'll show you. When I go back to the top, there it is. So this part is lined up. The ending stitching marks now with this beginning point. So I'll press OK, and then it's going to remind me about using the rotate keys and the size keys. So I'm going to say OK. So this is where I'm going to go across the top to see if I need to rotate. It's right on the mark, right? Now let's go down the side. Keep your eye on the mark there. And we'll go down to the bottom. Okay, that looks kind of good, but if I go back up to the top, I can see it's angling a little bit into the corner. Let's see how it looks over here. So yes, it's way down over here. So I need to angle that up. So I'm going to use the 1% and see how that looks. Get this taut again. Now if I go across one more time, it's okay over here. A little bit to the left. I didn't really move it, so I'm not sure what happened there, but I think I'm going to check this corner again to make sure it's not angling too much. Okay, so if I go up to the middle, it's still looking good. And that's still looking good. So I think that I've angled it okay for this to stitch out. Now, let's just make sure. Did it keep the setting that yes, it did. I was going to say, let's just double check it to make sure that it kept how much I lengthened the pattern when I stitched out this first hoop. Remember, I had to lengthen it. Well, it remembered how much I lengthened it. So we're good. I'm going to press OK. And I'm going to press go. Or start. Oh, the thread broke. Huh, maybe I knocked it out when I was moving stuff around. And if I'm hoping that when I stitch this out, that if I'm off, I can show you what I do. Like the beginning mark, this ending mark has to match up with the beginning mark. But right now, I'm going to go back to the beginning. Okay. And let me get back to number 1. Okay, here we go. So, I'm a tiny hair off here. But what I do when I notice that I'm more off is I'll just put a piece of tape there. And if I need to, I can always go back, and when I'm done with this whole thing, and connect it more, line it up better if I need to with the sewing machine. So I take the embroidery foot off when I'm all done. And, you know, I just put the tape mark there to remind myself that this is the spot where I need to go back and fix it if there's something that's not lining up. So if it's not perfect, that's fine. You can always go back and fix it if you want to. This one actually did line up pretty good, so I don't have to do that here, but I wanted to mention that. I don't know if I told you that I'm still using a 7511 needle. Not as taut as I like it to be, but I think it'll be fine. So when I'm done stitching all of this out, all I have to do is go back and make sure if I see any pieces of tape that I connect the ending point with the start point better. I think I only had 1, maybe 2 maximum of those that I have to just go back and check. And when that's done, then I'll just make sure that the back, that I clip the threads a little bit closer to where it knots each starting / ending point on the back. And I like to trim those so that it's not so noticeable. And then all I'll have to do is prepare the binding and get that. Well, actually before that I have to true up the edges, because when this is quilted all done, you know, you don't want this sticking out. I got to trim that off with my ruler and my rotary blade, and then trim off the back threads and also create the binding and attach the binding to the sides of the quilt. Every time I do this, I get a little more confident, a little better. And this is, you know, machine embroidery is tricky. I haven't done free motion embroidery yet. I do want to try that, but my mission right now is to learn as much as I can about this machine. And like I said in a previous video, the next thing I want to go on to is the IQ scanning. So that's the goal. if there's anything else you want me to show you about this quilt, let me know. Otherwise, I'm just going to do it offline because a lot of people, I mean, I'll probably go find a YouTube video because I've only done, this is my second quilt, to make sure I go back, do my binding properly and attach it properly. So if you need help with binding, you can always check for another YouTube channel. Stitching out beautifully. We're at 31 minutes and we're almost at the end of the stitch out. I might keep going, and if you want to stop watching, feel free. But I want to thank you. I actually, it's not making that mark at the end because there's no more rows to connect. So all I have to do is move it across, and I'm going to put a mark, I'm going to put the sticker at the top marking and this marking so that when I lift the hoop and move it across, moving it right to the side so I don't hang up the fabric when I'm pulling it through, and it really helps with helping me to more stably move the fabric across. Yeah, so I just kind of eyeball about where I think I need to line up. For me, it's an 1.5 inches, from 1.25 inches to 1.5 inches from the side, the left side and the bottom. And I wasn't going to do another video, but I thought I could do one more. If you don't want to watch, then you can just log off. But I want to thank you for watching, and if you like what I'm doing, make a comment and subscribe. Give a like. Doing what I always do, pinching at the sides and the top. Oh, that was way out of whack. So good thing I did that. Double checking my marks over here at the top and the side. Checking to make sure things look like they're lined up. And cold taut. Okay, everything's lined up still. Good. I press OK. And it's just telling me what I just did. Move it over, which is already done. Press OK. Telling me to line up this mark. So I'm going to press OK because I already moved it across. We'll see how close we are. We need to move it over and down. And then when I was done is I go up the left side to see how close I am to that mark. I'm very close. So I'll press OK on that screen, and it's reminding me to use the rotate keys to double check. So I'm going to do that right now. And it looks like we're angling up. So I'm going to push it down. Oh, it doesn't like the fact that I, let me see. I'll go across and down. Just checking to see if I can see with my own eyes how far I'm off. I think it's only angling up a little bit. But I think it looks pretty good actually. I can also do this in the corner. Is another workaround. Press OK. And now I can go. Already I can go. So as you can see, things really start rolling along. It remembered that I had extended the size of the pattern to make it fit into to push it down farther so that it could quilt this area. Because remember, when I first checked it, it was way up here. I had to push that, elongate the pattern so that it would quilt the whole bottom of the quilt. Once I did that, from the first frame, it remembered it across. So the only thing different from here is I have 2 more frames of regular embroidery, just like I showed you. And then at the far right, I will have to probably push it into the corner. Oh no, when I got to the far right, I had to shorten it. So when I get there, I will have to move it into the left. It'll have to shrink the size of the pattern. Guess I could have pulled that a little more taut, but it's going to be fine. This little purple thing comes in handy. And I get all my supplies at the Sewing Source in Lake Villa, Illinois. And I have their website in the description area of each video I make, so you should be able to find them. If you need something, give them a call. They also sold me my machine. They've been great about, you know, when I have troubles and I have to take it for repair. They're very kind people there, and they will bend over backwards to help you. They have great fabric there, all kinds of notions. They have classes, and if you go to the website that I have in my description box, you can see they have classes there, and they usually give a discount if you attend a class. Looks like I am running out of bobbin thread, so I'm going to have to say so long, and thank you for watching. And again, if you like what I'm doing, leave a comment, give a like, and subscribe. So I'll see you next time. Thank you for watching.